What's something you stopped doing that unexpectedly improved your mental health? Story 1. I have a new rule. I'm only allowed to think about sad depressing thoughts when it is bright and sunny out. This means I distract myself when it's nighttime or too cloudy foggy outside. I'm better able to process and healthily deal with my problems now because my mind is in an active, healthy state during sunshine, and I don't fall into the emotional abyss that comes with thinking about depressive thoughts in the blackness. Life-changing. 10-10 recommend. Story 2. Social media. Drinking. Making my friends' problems my problems. Conversing with people at functions I truly don't like. Started trusting my gut when it came to weird vibes about people. Story 3. Talking to my mother. It's funny, my husband walked into the room once, and I was at the computer. He says, "I see you're talking to your mom." I asked how he knew, and he replied, "Well, I can tell by the way you're typing. You just type angry every time you're talking to her. You hit the keys harder and you sigh a lot." Having a relationship with her was just such a toxic thing in my life that I had to let it go for my own mental health. Story 4. Hot take. Going to therapy weekly for anxiety. I realized it was fueling aspects of rumination for me, only fueling the problem once I was past the debilitating part. Story 5. Tapering off of the lorazepam with the help of a psychiatrist that my ex-family doctor should have never prescribed to me in the first place. I can cry at movies now. Story 6. Trying to be the emotional support for years. For a needy friend who was always having a crisis. She went off at me one day blaming me for the crisis of the day because I wouldn't help her pay the rent her boyfriend had bailed on. No longer my problem and I'm well out. Story 7. I stopped eating gluten for a number of health reasons, and the most surprising change was that within a week I started waking up feeling clear-headed. No more need to chug coffee just to function. Story 8. Sounds silly, but watching horror movies. I typically watch 3 to 4 a week, and I was having terrible night terrors and then I wouldn't sleep well. A vicious cycle. Now my sleep has improved mentally. I'm in a better place. Story 9. Drinking and smoking weed. I'm all for doing this stuff responsibly and moderately. However, I feel like I was really abusing it and my mind was blurry. 247. Was coming home after a long night of drinking once, and I was not too drunk at that time. The morning looked beautiful, and I felt like life if beautiful. IDKY, but I decided to take a break after that and finally just quit. Story 10. I spent most of my life in anxiety and trauma, always thinking, when will I catch a break? Why doesn't stuff work out for me? Stopped overthinking in its tracks. It took years and a lot of faking it until you make it and forcing myself to be positive. I put reminders everywhere saying, if everything could go wrong, it could also go right, and what if things turn out better than you could have ever imagined? I've noticed I am truly happy, even when things go wrong in life. All parts of my life are better because my mindset is better. Story 11. Read about a study regarding addiction where they tested rats on whether they drink water or drug water, a liquid comprised of heroin, cocaine, etc. When there was nothing else in the cage, the rats always consumed the drug water to the point of near 100 overdose. When they created Rat Park, which consisted of a cage filled with activities, other rats, and items to play with, the rats didn't care for the drug water and were at a rate of 0 overdose. Dr. Bruce Alexander moral of the story study was that connection and occupying yourself with activity is at the core of addiction and mental health state. Surround yourself with others and things you enjoy regardless of your initial environment. Story 12. Paying attention to politics. It's like the world opens up magically when you resign yourself to not having an emotional response to political news of any kind. It's not privilege or any of the other judgments made against someone who does this. I have a ton more free time, and I'm happier and find that simply expressing I'm not political when it comes up changes the conversation immediately. Story 13. I stopped watching morning news first thing when I wake up. I didn't realize how much awful news was affecting my moods in the morning. I still watch news once a day to keep abreast of what's happening in the world. It's just not the first thing I watch as soon as I'm awake. My mornings are now peaceful and I'm more present as I start a new day. Story 14. Using gummies every single night. It's jarring and raw at first. Remembering dreams comes right back, often frightening or intense, but after 2 weeks, leveling out and feeling more present and on top of things. Story 15. Wanting to always achieve the perfect version of myself. That I am sometimes clumsy and ditzy and of course make mistakes. Unfortunately, I've embraced it more. Makes me feel more normal, like a regular human. And it feels better feeling like a regular human than a unique, special person who feels disconnected from everyone else and who struggles with perfectionism. I cut my cable and got rid of my TV in 1999. The news, in particular, was just keeping me angry and depressed. I also wasted many evenings in a futile search for something worth watching. Reading and the internet less passive has been a much better life strategy for me. Story 16. Putting an effort in things. People that don't do the same for me. It's liberating. The amount of free time and mental space I have to concentrate on my own needs is unbelievable. Story 17. Nighttime procrastinating when I stay up until 3 each day and get 4 hours of sleep day after day after day. And the most obvious to me, stopped being in denial, so I'd make change and get the help that I needed. Stopped an abusive relationship too. Story 18, trying to make nice with online. It's cathartic to just state your point blunt as you like and then block them. I imagine them screaming into the void and smile. Story 19. I stopped weighing myself. I had bariatric surgery and had been weighing myself a few times a week. It got addictive fast. I was counting on that rush of seeing the numbers go down so much that if they didn't drop as fast as I wanted, I'd be crushed. That led to trying to keep my calorie count as low as possible to keep the momentum going. When I was agonizing over taking my vitamins because they had a few calories in them, I realized that I was spiraling into some really disordered eating. I started seeing a dietitian and put the scale away. Now I measure my progress by whether or not I'm getting enough protein, drinking water, and feeling good. Story 20. I stopped reading and listening to the news. If it comes on the radio at work, I turn it off. I don't waste money on newspapers. There is never good news. Story 21. Drinking caffeine after noon. I would be tired from not getting enough sleep, drink coffee all throughout the day, not be able to sleep, only to wake up tired the next day from not getting enough sleep. Repeat cycle. Just 1 or 2 cups a day for me now. Story 22. I stopped thinking about the large questions and how shitty certain political situations are. Yes, if you are wealthy enough, you can get away with everything. Yes, the world is taking a nosedive, and if I want to, I can predict the results. But it's better for me if I just focus on my own issues instead of taking the weight of the world on my shoulders. Story 23. Stopped hanging out with people I considered my closest friends. Admittedly, because I did something I regret, and they stopped talking to me. Realized it was all toxic anyway and for the better. Didn't need all of that horrible energy in my life. Story 24. Responding to unnecessary urgencies, I started meeting aggressive, forceful behaviors from others with silence, non-responsiveness. No one comes to me like this now, because I don't acknowledge react toward this behavior with the desired response. Story 25. I read somewhere that you shouldn't say I want to kill myself as a joke because your brain can't tell the difference between sarcasm and real. And when you say something like that over and over, your brain believes it. So I stopped saying thinking I want to die. And if I caught myself thinking it automatically, would actively correct myself with something like, no, I want to live, or no, I'm fine. This was at a point in my life after I had been pretty suicidal. My situation had improved a lot, but my gut reaction to negative feelings or problems was still suicidal ideation, and I was still mostly just bedrotting. Doing this mental self-correction trained me to stop jumping to suicidal thoughts when I was upset. I'm a lot better now. Story 26. I stopped dyeing my hair a different color every month. Not only was I killing my hair by bleaching it, but I was almost keeping myself stuck in this mental loop of instability. Story 27. Some of these were years, decades ago. Some of them more recent. Stopped watching the news. Stopped reading the newspapers. Stopped reading news websites, except nothing more than a brief glance, and then looking up interesting stories on better places if I actually care about it. It's amazing how easy it is to feel outraged over something that you have literally no power over. Filtered all my social media for politics, Trump, Musk, and anything else that I found grating. Even closed accounts for social media, that wouldn't let me do that. Stopped letting broadcast TV wash over me, or any kind of streaming media with ads, etc. I turn a device on, watch precisely what I want to watch and how many episodes I want to watch, with 0 ads, costing me nothing, and then turn it off. You'd be amazed how much time that gives you back, and you'd be amazed quite how much other people are dependent on them letting it wash over their brains every evening for countless hours on end, having nothing else to talk about. Seriously. Try it. See how much you miss out on according to other people, and then yourself. When I drive home from work, the second I'm in the car, I'm doing something else in my head. I refuse to fume or dwell or worry on work-related shite outside of work for even a second. I actually enjoy the commute home now. The second I'm in the car, I'm my own person again. And in the morning, nothing even occurs to me work-wise until I'm parking in the work car park. Story 28. I read somewhere to ignore whatever you say about yourself past midnight or 2 a.m. or something. In a way, it taught me how to shut down my own self-doubts. Story 29. Ironically, stopped socializing. I realized that I keep comparing my life to other people. Maybe someone has better car, nicer clothes, bigger house. I have more peace of mind just being in hermit mode. Story 30. I used to feel guilty and ashamed that I didn't have a lucrative career figured out, especially since my wife is the breadwinner in our home. I'm 39 now, and for a long time, I really beat myself up over it. What's helped is realizing that a lot of people are in the same boat. Many of us aren't where we thought we'd be in our careers, and that doesn't mean we've failed. Letting go of those unrealistic expectations has really helped. Story 31. I stopped begging my ex to have something to do with his son. After about 2.5 years of his excuses and blatant lies, Much better off pretending he doesn't exist. To answer any questions, my son is old enough now to make his own choices based on his personal experience with this. I have never tried to make him dislike his donor and never will. And no, I do not run my mouth about my own opinions around or within earshot of my child. Story 32. Changing thought patterns. I used to talk negative to myself a lot internally, not even just putting myself down, but also a negative outlook in general. The minute I started pulling myself up for it and replacing the thought with something positive, it made it so much easier to get that I was procrastinating on finished. And that just makes you feel so much more confident in your own word. I feel like the problem is we lack respect in ourselves to the point where saying, "You're gonna do something" doesn't mean because you flake out on your promises. Story 33. This is so surprising to me, but working out. I think I had just really overdone it, and I was just like so tired all the time and burnt out. Figuring out how to schedule my workouts in and giving it my all when I was there, and then not having enough time energy for other things in my life was actually causing me more stress overall. I've taken a month off, and I feel mentally healthier than I have in a while, and am rethinking what role I want working out to play in my life, and am leaning towards lower impact focus on flexibility and agility rather than high-intensity workouts. Story 34. Stopped watching TV. This was way before social media around age 17. Didn't watch TV again until I was 30, with the exception of downloading shows I was interested in. Saved myself an eating disorder. Story 35. Honestly, smoking weed. I didn't really think it made a difference, but when I stopped, I was able to remember LOL and fully enjoy the hobbies I have. And that has done wonders for my mental health. Along with my sleep is better, took a while to get adjusted and eating better foods. Not high snacking. I miss certain things about weed, but overall my mental health comes first. Story 36. Watching the news all the time. Used to live with MSNBC or CNN on in the background. Shut it off in November and have not gone back. Cannot begin to tell you how much happier I am day to day. Story 37. I was going to say lots of things, like not being on my phone before bed, getting plenty of sleep, not wasting my time with Reddit, eating nutritious healthy food, going out in the sunshine and fresh air every day, not listening to other people's negative comments, etc. Then I realized that I actually don't do any of those things. I tell a friend to treat themselves like that, but I don't take my own advice, strangely enough. Perhaps I should start taking my own advice. Story 38. I started letting things go, stopped getting angry. There's a time and place for everything, including being mad or pissed off. But the amount of just absolute that happens every day that you can be mad about is astounding. That 5 seconds that someone cut you off while driving? Don't give your next hour to it being pissed off. And while you're still pissed off about the dude cutting you off, something else happens, making you pissed off all over again. It snowballs. And then you start looking for things to be mad about. There's so much that just isn't worth it. Story 39. Agreeing with people thinking it'll make life easier. It doesn't. It was almost immediate, and the relief is just, yeah. Don't appease people smoking. Story 40. I stopped referring to rainy, cloudy days as depressing and forced myself to think of them as hygge days instead, really emphasizing the nice, cozy nature of my associations like sweaters and comfy blankets and warm tea and the sound of raindrops hitting surfaces instead, and it's really changed my outlook for the better. Story 41. Always checking on my phone, just scrolling mindlessly through social media or messages. When I cut back on that, even a little, I noticed I felt way less anxious and way more present. Story 42. Stopped stacking my vacation time and then never using it. Boss didn't like it, but I pointed out in the handbook that we had X amount of time for vacation. A minor argument began, eventually brought to the GM. GM agreed that we were to use the PTO when there was nothing going on. Pissed my boss off because he had to find coverage for my days off. Not my fault. The company turned into a meat grinder and they didn't hire extra staff. Story 43. Stopped being obsessed with numbers. Like how many miles until the next 1,000, counting while doing the dishes. Sometimes when too many things pile up in my mind, I just write it down to make a clean start. Story 44. I stopped trying to fit in and being interested in things just because it's what men are supposed to like or it's what people where I'm from are supposed to be interested in, and started trying to just be me and not letting other people or my location dictate what I'm supposed to like. Story 45. Stopped taking my birth control because I was too depressed to remember or care. Suddenly started getting better. My brother literally told me, "You're like a real person again." Story 46. When I was in 8th grade, all I wanted in life was to fit in and be one of the popular kids. I stressed over it. I schemed over it. I thought of cool little lies that would be more impressive than my boring life. It never worked. I was still the kid with cooties who liked computers way before that was cool. Then one day I gave up. Them. What they say. That phrase right there became my mantra. I stopped trying to be someone else, and more importantly, I stopped trying to fit in. I stopped stressing out about what I wanted, and I just enjoyed what I had. From that moment in 1984, I've made some amazing friends and done incredible things and never had to lie about who I am. A few years back, I was helping with a class reunion when a cheerleader, who was part of the group I considered the popular group, told me that she was always jealous of me. She said that I always had so many friends. When I pointed out that she did too, she told me she didn't. Not really. Not good friends. To quote the Bloodhound Gang, "Here comes trouble. Shut the front door. You need to not give up a little more. Tomorrow's not here. And yesterday's gone. It's half past it with the caps lock, on reading and choosing myself first." Story 47. Got rid of the social media platform Facebook, maybe 5 to 6 years ago. It changed a lot of my outlook and happiness. I recently had to have one to see some stuff for work, man. It has changed a lot and it's loaded with misinformation. Sure, it's mostly harmless, but I probably just don't have the political algorithm to show me either side. That mixed with just fake pictures and videos, it just made me feel like it was a useless, harmful app. Story 48. 1. Deactivating my main FB account. I lessened my time on social media. It keeps me from seeing negative things from people. We tend to be invested in other people's life updates that we often forget to focus on our growth. Eventually, I still need it for ACADS and personal matters, so I created a new one but have few added friends. 2. Stop lying in bed. Every time we do nothing, we feel useless and unproductive. Just stand up and take a bath. You'll feel refreshed. 3. Do things whether it's small or not. One time I got training for a job every 9 p.m. and I feel motivated to finish class and pending outputs because I have more important tasks to do afterwards. A job where I can earn money. When you do things, it makes your mind alive and active. Story 49. Going on Tinder. Casual. Staying celibate for half a year before finding my now boyfriend has been the best thing I've done for my mental health in years. Story 50. My job. I got fired, lost my insurance and access to my bipolar medication and ADHD Vivance medication. 3 months later, 1. I started a side business that will gross more this month than I made working my job. 2. No more need for meds. I feel completely stabilized now that I've gotten over the withdrawals. I'm managing naturally. I was maxed out on my mood stabilizers. 3. Another baby on the way. 4. Something in raw liver every day keeps my mood more stable and gives me a ton of energy. 5. Just completed the CPA equivalent for cybersecurity last week. Seriously though, I survived in that toxic hole for 12 years, and during that time I was diagnosed with bipolar, ADHD, anxiety, and CPTSD. I struggled with addiction. I was gaslit into believing that I was the problem. The real problem was my surroundings. Did it? Yes. But where I am now and how much I've grown in confidence and knowledge as a person, I'd do it 10 times over. Best of luck, brother. P.S. Stay on your meds. If they keep you stable, do them. Story 51. Watching TV. I'll watch a show every few months or something, but I'd rather read. Alcohol. I was never a huge drinker, but I cannot consume it without being sick for a couple of days, so definitely don't need any of that. I only have half of the normal amount, extremely low for processing alcohol. Plus, it causes a lot of cancers. FB, Insta, and any other social media other than Reddit and YouTube. And I also generally curate what I decide to consume media-wise news. I only read news because it allows me to sift and read only what I care about and or tolerate for mental health reasons. I have a difficult time reading about violent crimes, for example, and local news is full of it. Story 52. Self-criticism is the worst thing I've ever had. Lately, I've been thinking that I should just end it. Every time I criticize myself, I lose the will to move forward. I start picking apart everything I create, but I'm tired. I want to stop. I want to love myself. I want to accept myself fully, gently, honestly. Story 53. I stopped talking to a toxic friend who only wanted to talk to me if it was to vent, including 1,000 per every second sentence. Didn't realize how much she was affecting me. Story 54. Weirdly, drinking stuff with caffeine in. I don't think it's directly helped my mental health, but now I get to sleep at night, and that definitely has. Story 55. Stopped trying with toxic family members. The loneliness of being alone and estranged from people that know so much about you is sobering, but the joy and freedom is freeing. Story 56. Comparing your life to the life someone else posts online. Most likely they will only post the good that's going on, which is only a small part of their life. Story 57. I stopped following politics so closely. The Hillary Trump election really almost drove me to a mental breakdown because had to respond to every post and join every group. Story 58. Depending on medication to fix all my problems. Therapy, learning different techniques, then making rules for myself to follow made a significant improvement to so many extremely difficult issues I was facing. Story 59. Stopped using a screen 12 hours before bedtime. It gives me a chance to sit with my own thought, organize the next day, and wind down so I can sleep. I didn't expect much, but it's helping more than I thought it would. Story 60. I work a job where I can keep my phone beside me. I was so obsessed with checking it that my anxiety was going through the roof, even though nothing bad was happening. I vowed to keep it in my bag on the coat hooks, only checking it on my break, and at the end of the day, I can't tell you how much it's helped. Story 61. Effixor. Thought I was just depressed, turns out I have manic depression. You know what you're not supposed to take when you're bipolar? Antidepressants. Yeah. So, I was crazy for about 3 years before I was given the mood disorder questionnaire. And my doctor has told me not to use the word crazy, but like that's the only way to describe it, lol. Story 62. Weed was the first big one. Going on a few years away from it now, and the difference is substantial. Drinking has been the second, but I'm only 78 days sober, so I can talk too in depth about it. But stopping each one has reduced anxiety and that sort of general malaise depression that sits in the background. Story 63. Stopping doom scrolling first thing in the morning. I didn't realize how much it was setting the tone for the rest of my day. Now I start with a walk or just silence. Way less anxious. Story 64. Caring about what others think of me. Once I stopped caring about others' opinions and just decided to be myself, my mental health improved greatly. It made me realize people will judge me no matter what I say or do, so why worry?